Let's just take a moment and think about those deep hopes we carry inside, you know, the quiet expectations, that feeling that there's something more coming than what we can, well, see right now. Life often seems to move in these seasons of waiting, doesn't it? We're anticipating, hoping for things not yet fully here. So today, we want to do a bit of a deep dive into what it means to really believe that promises made will actually be kept.
Yeah, that really touches on something core to how we live, right? This whole idea of reliance, of, trusting that a commitment is solid. It's fundamental, really.
It absolutely is. And there's a really strong anchor for this idea, something echoed down through time. It's in Joshua 21:45. It says, "Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Everyone was fulfilled." Okay, let's pause on that. What does that actually mean? It's not just like wishful thinking. It feels like a statement rooted in, well, history.
Exactly. It points to a track record, a consistency. That verse isn't just hanging there. It's summing things up. It's like a record showing that commitments made over a long period were, every single one, honored. And that historical backdrop kind of invites us to think, what does it mean for a promise to be truly reliably kept?
So when we hear something that powerful, what does it tell us about, the nature of faithfulness itself? What makes it so dependable?
Well, what's really striking is the idea of inherent consistency. Faithfulness, in this context, it suggests a complete inability almost to break a promise. The fact that it says not one failed points to something foundational. You could argue this consistency isn't random. It comes from a core characteristic. Steadfastness, integrity. Breaking a promise would basically go against that very nature.
Right, because when you're in those waiting times, the feelings can be all over the place, can't they? You might doubt if what you're hoping for is real or feel like maybe you've been forgotten. How does this idea of unwavering faithfulness help with those feelings?
That's a really important point. The power seems to be in consciously choosing where you put your anchor, not in the shifting sands of emotion, but in what you understand to be constant. It's a deliberate choice, really, to stand on the conviction that the promise is true no matter how you feel right now or what's going on around you.
It's almost like faith becomes this quiet, stubborn thing inside. And it's mentioned that this kind of belief isn't always like loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just this steady day after day belief that things will change for the better because of who God is. What keeps that quiet belief going?
The fuel for that seems to come from understanding the one who made the promise.
Hmm.
This idea that everything is seen, everything is heard, and every commitment made has this weight of eventual completion behind it. Knowing that seems to provide a really deep assurance.
It's one thing to talk about it conceptually, but it hits differently when you see it play out in real lives. And we've got a couple of stories that really bring this home, I think.
Absolutely. These individual stories, they become powerful examples of that consistency we're exploring. Take the family in the Philippines. For, wow, over a decade, roughly 2015 to 2025, they just kept praying and going through all the legal hoops for a land title.
More than 10 years. That's a long time to hold on to hope. You can imagine the setbacks, the moments where they must have thought, is this ever going to happen?
Hmm.
So what was it like when they finally got that title in 2025?
Well, when it finally came through, their reaction was just, well, it tells you everything. We knew God would make a way even when everything said no.
Hmm.
That one sentence captures so much about that enduring belief against, what looked like impossible odds.
Yeah.
What do you think kept them going for so long?
It's hard to fully grasp that kind of staying power. Maybe it was just this deep, unshakable conviction in something bigger than what they could see day to day. And then there's the other story, the couple in Germany. They waited nearly 15 years. Think about that, 2010 to 2025, roughly, to adopt a child. Another incredibly long wait.
15 years, yes. That's a huge amount of time to keep that specific deep hope alive, navigating all the complexities of adoption. And what's really touching out their journey is how their own story, their eventual joy, is now actually encouraging others. People who are in those same long waiting periods are drawing strength from them.
Wow. So their personal fulfillment is now rippling outwards, becoming hope for others. It's like these modern examples just highlight this timeless principle, don't they? That commitments are fulfilled eventually, even if the timing feels completely off from what we'd expect or want.
Exactly. They aren't just, random happy endings. They seem to point to a deeper pattern about promises. The sense that a genuine promise inherently carries its own fulfillment within it, moving towards completion, however long it takes.
Okay, so for you listening right now, what's the main takeaway here? How does this apply to maybe the things you're waiting for?
The core thought seems to be this. If a promise has been made, whatever that looks like in your life. There's a solid reason to believe it will be kept. And the key thing isn't trying to, like, force the timing or make it happen yourself.
Mm.
It's more about nurturing faithfulness, that perseverance, during the wait.
That's a really important shift, isn't it? It takes the focus off anxious striving and puts it onto trust and just, well, hanging in there. Which brings us to a really personal point for reflection. What promise, specifically, are you holding on to right now? And how can you, today, in your thoughts, in your actions, actively choose to stand firm in that belief?
Yeah, it really asks each of us to look at where we're placing our trust. Are we letting the delays chip away at our conviction? Or are we actively deciding to ground ourselves in this idea that faithfulness is constant and endures?
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, the central message that keeps coming through is this fundamental truth. Promises have this inherent weight of fulfillment. Even when time stretches out, even when the way forward isn't clear, there's a deep consistency there. Commitments are seen through.
And maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Try to find real strength, real encouragement. Just knowing that faithfulness isn't temporary. It's constant. Yeah. Holding on to that can be, well, a really powerful anchor when you're in those inevitable waiting seasons of life.
That's a perspective with real depth. Thanks for exploring this today.